Good afternoon and welcome to this afternoon session from IACAC and the Virtual College Exploration Program for Illinois students. This afternoon's session is on affording private colleges and the financial aid that they tend to offer. Your microphone and your camera have been muted, so the panelists cannot see or hear you, but we do want you to ask questions. So the way you're going to do that is you're going to use the Q&A button and type your question into the presenter. Type it at any time whenever the question pops up, and they'll be able to see all the questions and answer them at the time in their program that they plan on answering questions. There are more sessions being offered in the next week. I believe the programs end October 22nd. And all of these sessions have been recorded. So you can find all of this information, the recordings, the future sessions coming up at the IACAC website, and that's www.iacac.org. So without further ado, I'm going to turn everything over to our presenter.
Hi, everybody. My name is Emma Phillips. I'm actually an admissions counselor at the Milwaukee School of Engineering. So MSOE, we're a pretty small, obviously a private school in downtown Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Pretty specific, the E obviously, and MSOE is engineering. So we're a very STEM-focused school. So if you're interested in MSOE at all, feel free to check out our website, msoe.edu. But really, I'm here to talk to you a little bit about today about just affording private college, because it can be seemingly expensive if you kind of look at it at a glance. Why would I attend a private university when I could attend a public for seemingly much cheaper? So I'm going to kind of talk today a little bit about what that process looks like. I'm going to talk about what it looks like at MSOE specifically as well, because I think that'll give you a pretty good look into what the financial aid world looks like at a private university, at a private college. So kind of the first question that I'm going to answer, and hopefully you guys are all asking, is why private colleges? Why would I choose a private college over maybe a state university or a state school? And the first question, or the first answer I'm going to give for you is usually most of these schools, it's going to be a lot similar to what you're doing in your high school. It's usually most private schools, and MSOE is a great example, are a lot smaller. You're going to have a little bit more of an individualized education. I always like to say that here at MSOE, your professor is going to know your name or not. They are going to be the one passing out your homework. There's cons to that, right? They're going to know if you're in class or not too. But you really get this individualized education. Private schools will do things a little bit differently in terms of financial aid. So usually for a state school, that money is all coming from the state, right? Private schools, that comes from just the private school alone internally. When you're looking at private versus state schools, you're going to see this thing, it's called a sticker price. That is going to be the number that they slap on to everything. So tuition, room and board, that's just like a basic number. When you look at private schools versus public schools, private schools will usually have a much higher sticker price. So a really good example, MSOE sticker price is $55,000. So room and board is about $10,000, tuition is about $45,000. State schools will usually be quite a lot less. It might be in the 20s or 30s, $20,000, $30,000 range. That might scare you as a student looking at schools. Oh my gosh, I can't afford $55,000 every year. And I remember when I was a student, it scared me as well. I went to a private college myself, and I remember thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to afford all of that? And I think that is going to be your biggest misconception with affording private colleges. Generally, students that are accepted and attend private colleges will receive some sort of institutional financial aid right off the bat. That's really going to start to cut that cost down. So a really good example, MSOE, like I said, sticker price will be about $55,000 every year. On average here, students will only pay about $20,000 to $25,000 per year. And I've seen students pay way less than that. And that's because we have these institutional scholarships, this financial assistance that can really help you. And that will be kind of the big difference is private schools tend to have a lot more scholarships that they'll offer right off the bat to help bring that cost down. So that's definitely something that you should always consider. If you're looking at a school and it's private and you're really worried because they have a really high sticker price, do some more research. Look at their financial aid website. They might even have a little calculator that you can see kind of what you might be ending up paying there. Because it can be a pretty common misconception, I think, that because the sticker price is $55,000 that you'll actually pay $55,000. Not always the case here. Some additional perks and something that's definitely important to consider. State schools will have in-state tuition. So let's say, for example, you attend, I'm in Wisconsin, so I'm going to use Wisconsin schools for an example. Let's say, for example, you attend University of Wisconsin-Madison, and you are from Wisconsin. Maybe tuition for you will be about $25,000. These are all estimates. $25,000 for UW-Madison if you're a Wisconsin resident. Let's say you are from Alaska, but you also want to attend UW-Madison. That price for you might be significantly different because you're out of state. So out of state, students tend to pay quite a bit more in tuition if you are going to kind of one of those state schools outside of that state. Private schools, that does not exist. So I can tell you right now, actually, MSOE, because we are in Wisconsin, north of you, because you are from Illinois, you'll actually get an additional $1,000 every year. We'll give you a scholarship for being out of state even. You don't have to pay more. So I think that's another really common misconception is that because you're out of state, you'll pay more at a private school. That's not the case. For the most part, the tuition that you'll be paying is the same kind of wherever you go. So if you want to travel, if you want to go all the way to California, private school is going to be the same tuition for you than if you were from California and lived there your whole life. Hopefully that makes sense. So tuition will be the same wherever you go. Those are two really big important things to know about kind of affording private school is one, sticker price. Don't always pay attention to it. Try to do a little bit further try to do a little bit deeper digging. That's what I was trying to say there. And then the second thing will definitely be that you can kind of go wherever and tuition will tend to be the same there. So I'm actually just going to pull up my screen here. I've got a PowerPoint. You give me just one moment. I'm going to kind of show you an example of what MSOE's financial aid process looks like. So you can get a good idea of what it might look like for other schools because we might have some things that are unique to our institution, but, and then just give me one more click, but a lot of things are going to be similar. There we go. So like I was saying, here's a quick cost breakdown of MSOE. You can see tuition about $40,000, and then total room and board will be about $10,000. Meal plan, kind of all of it added up will be about $55,000. So that's kind of where you can see where all of it is kind of going together, right? You can see that full breakdown. Like I said, though, I don't know a single student who pays $55,179 every year to MSOE. Everybody gets some sort of financial aid. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about next. Right off the bat, when a student at MSOE is admitted to MSOE, they receive an academic merit award. Basically what that is, that's based on your academics, so GPA, transcripts, all of that. This is something that you will see at a lot of private schools, this academic merit award. Now, this, you don't have to do a thing to do it. You just get it right off the bat. Our scholarship here ranges from $10,000 to $24,000 every year. So if you get that top tier scholarship, that is really going to pay off long term, right? $24,000 every year off of $55K is a pretty good thing to cut off right away. So that's what you'll get. Again, you don't have to do a thing. You just get it. All of the other ones down here, we do also offer some of the additional onesie-twosie scholarships. So at MSOE, great example, if you've taken a project lead the way class, which is an engineering course, we'll give you $3,000 every year just for taking it. If you are in FBLA, DECA, if you have done Science Olympiad, any of those, we'll give you $1,000 every year. All of these, they stack up. You don't have to do a thing to do them or to get them. You just let us know and you get that scholarship. You might see the out-of-state opportunity grant. That's that exact scholarship that I was talking about. If you come to Wisconsin, an MSOE from Illinois, we'll give you $1,000. So all of these really start to add up. Stacking all of those, that's going to start bringing that cost of tuition down slowly but surely. Now, that being said, usually that's not all students will receive an aid. This is all, again, like I said, you don't have to do a thing, it's just there right away for you. In January, February time, that will be when most private schools will be sending out official financial aid offers. That will be when you get that full bill, you kind of get to see really what that cost is going to be. MSOE, and I know a lot of schools are the same, will look at a few things for your financial aid offer. The first thing they will look at, and by far the most important thing, is the FAFSA. The FAFSA is something that you can file online, FAFSA.gov, and basically it's free money from the government. You fill out your family fills out your tax information, kind of your family background, and then the government puts down a number called your EFC, your estimated family contribution. Financial aid offices will use this to estimate and determine how much money that you should be receiving in financial aid to afford whatever university you attend. Now, in my experience at MSOE, for financial aid, you'll see all these scholarships again, like I said. But if you file for the FAFSA, you might also see loans that come in. You might see some additional aid that comes from the government, whether that be the Pell Grant, whether that be something like that. But then additionally, at MSOE, some schools have this, some don't. Additionally, MSOE will also give out something called an MSOE grant. Basically what that is us looking at your estimated family contribution, so how much money that you should be expected to pay your family for a university, how much money we're asking you to pay, and then we're going to meet you in the middle. So we try to bring that number down as well. That way, if your estimated family contribution is 0, that means if your family cannot afford to send any money towards education, we're going to try to do something on our end to make sure that it's more affordable for you. Some schools have that, not all do, but it's definitely something that can help. So if you want my #1 piece of advice, 2 things from this seminar. 1, definitely look at private school tuition financial aid. Definitely look into it. 2, and this will be like 100% most important thing, file the FAFSA. File the FAFSA, because that's really just going to help you throughout your 4 years at your school. So those will be kind of the big things coming in. So again, then January, February time, at least that's what it is for MSOE, you will receive that official cost breakdown of how much you'd be expected to pay. That will give you a really good idea of kind of what you should be looking at for schools. So if you're looking at it and it's still really, really unreasonable, I would recommend talking to your admissions counselor. But if it's that final number and you're really still struggling, that is when I would say it's important to look at other universities. Maybe not even necessarily a school, just other schools in general. So that's kind of like that's MSOE's official kind of financial aid process. It starts all the way when you're accepted in October, and then it ends. You find that official financial aid letter out January, February, like I said. So it's different for every school, but generally it kind of tends to be that kind of system. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here really quick. And so really that's that main process. And like I've been saying, it's going to be different from other schools, but the nice part about private schools is that they tend to be smaller. So there are people there to help you through that process. You're not alone. So myself, like I said, I am an admissions counselor. My job is to help my students through that process. So if you've never done the financial aid process before, if you're worried about it, if you're worried you're not going to get any kind of money, all of these things, that's my job to help you through. So my advice as well for that, reach out to your admissions counselors. For private schools, they're really going to be there for you to help you through that process, be your one-on-one connection to make sure that you're doing all the right steps, that you're not missing anything. I'm there to help break it down for you as a student as well. So that's another thing that I recommend, is just staying in communication with your admissions counselor. I probably missed one or two things, but hopefully I kind of touched on all of the big points on why it's really, really important to consider private schools in terms of finances. Hopefully you kind of understand the misconceptions of sticker price and tuition at universities. So at this point, I just open it up for questions. So if anybody does have questions, feel free to put it in the Q&A bar over here. I'll probably, if it's a private question, I'll answer it privately later, but otherwise I'll read it out loud and answer it for the group. Any kind of questions we got coming in? We'll just wait a few minutes for that kind of thing as well. I know that something that our website has, and I know something that a lot of universities now do have, is if you are curious of what that ballpark number would look like for you at a private institution, go on their website, browse their financial aid, see what kinds of resources that they do have. I know MSOE has like a financial aid calculator. Basically, it's a little quiz that you take. You fill out all of your information, the clubs that you're in, all of that, and then it will give you a ballpark number. The calculators, and it'll be the case for most schools, they're not always going to be 100% accurate, but it at least can give you an idea. Should I be considering this university? Is it going to fit my needs financially? That's definitely something I would consider. Any questions? So what I will say too, if you have questions that come up later, if you have questions about engineering, if you have questions about MSOE, if you have questions about the admissions process at universities, definitely send me an email. So if you're ready, I'm actually going to spell my email address here. This is MSOE's general email, but I will be watching it for the next few days for any kind of questions that we have coming through. So that will be explore@msoe.edu. That is explore@msoe.edu. So send me any kinds of questions that you have about this process. I know it can sometimes be daunting and sometimes can be confusing. So I'm happy to help anybody through that process. It looks like all of the questions, everything like that has been answered. So that's pretty much it on my end. Again, shoot me an email if you guys need anything at all. But otherwise, thank you so much for coming. I don't know if you have any other, my lovely moderator, I don't know if you have anything, any wrapping up that needs to be done or anything like that.
Yeah, we do. Thank you very much for your presentation. It was great. When you close out of this window, there's going to be a very quick 4-question survey. Please just take the minute or two it'll take to complete it, so it'll help us as we do this programming in the future, do a better job and improve things. Again, if you go to the IACAC website, that's iacac.org, you will find more sessions you can sign up for. And in about a week, the recording for this session will be available. Every single session we've done in this program has been recorded, so you can go on and maybe see some others you didn't have an opportunity to sit in live and view those programs. Thanks very much for joining us this evening, and I want to thank our presenter for the great information, and everyone have a good evening.